Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini preview, and today we are talking about Hidden Leaders, Forgotten Legends. And this is the first expansion to Hidden Leaders, which is a kind of tug-of-war style game where each player is taking on the role of one of these four different factions, and each faction is going to win based on where their marker is placed at the end of the game. And each faction is going to wind up winning depending on the relationship of the two different markers that are on the board at the beginning of the game. If both are all the way to one side, the undead are going to win. If both are all the way to the other side, another faction is going to win. If the red one's a little bit further than the green one, a different one's going to win, and so on and so on. And in that game, you have a whole bunch of cards that you have, and you're going to be playing these cards each turn, and each card is going to do something different to these different markers on this kind of tug-of-war style board as you're moving them back and forth. And once you've played X amount of cards, depending on players, you're going to see where they are, evaluate who's the winner, and then everyone's going to reveal what leader they are, and that leader is going to have two different factions that they're associated with, so you will see who's the winner that way. There's various tiebreakers. Now, this new expansion introduces another faction, the Guardians. And the Guardians pretty much just kind of charge up the board. And then there are some ways to move them backwards. So it's adding one more faction, along with that a bunch of different leaders that include that faction. And then along with that, there are two smaller expansions as well. One's called Corruption, another one's called Artifacts. And very quickly, I'll just talk about what these do. The Corruption is one that when time comes, you're able to take these little corruption tokens, you'll be drawing them out of a bag or taking them off of a card. You'll get to put them on different heroes around the board, whether it's on yours or another player's. And on the other side, there will be another symbol. Now, the symbol will usually activate if they go into the graveyard or something like that, but if they stay to the end of the game, they may also activate. And usually it's simply going to change what faction they are associated with. Or it may be something that will hurt you or protect you or hurt another player. That's kind of the idea. And there are the artifacts, which are single cards that each player gets that do something different, and they have a set number of charges. Again, they tell you exactly what to do. And then obviously the Guardians that I already talked about. And the big thing with the Guardians are they're going to progress up the board until one of the Guardian characters goes into the graveyard. And then when that happens, you'll be able to draw a couple of cards that have different effects that might send the Guardian back down. So what do I like about this expansion? The first thing is everything I liked about the original game, the ease of play, the tug of war, and the amazing art all remains true. I do think the Guardians faction with this slightly different style of play is relatively interesting as far as it goes, and it really adds another dimension to the game, which I definitely appreciate. And as I said, as before, the artwork on these is just wonderful. It's just so evocative and so fascinating. Oh, this is that I'm showing you, that's actually a artifact card. But as you can see here, they all just look wonderful as you're checking them out. And I'm not showing you a whole bunch of them because it's the same idea as in the original game. So a lot of this is yes, but more. If you liked Hidden Leaders, then you're going to like what the additions are that are being offered here. And again, as I said, I really like that Guardians faction. That one's very cool. I like the Artifacts expansion, though it's a little bit of a okay and. I found that a lot of the times when I was playing, I didn't use it much, or at least not very much, and sometimes the other players, they wouldn't use it at all. So it's a good expansion to have, but it's not something that's really going to make you like the game if you didn't like it before. And then, of course, the last one is the Corruption module. And that one to me is both the most interesting and the most challenging. I think it's interesting because of what it's doing, how it's changing up what the different factions are out there, how it might be damaging or it might be protecting and all of those things. Though, on the other hand, it is the one that's just the most fiddly to use. It's just not as simple and clean as the other ones are, which that makes it both good because it's adding a level of complexity and depth to the game. It also takes me to my quibbles, which is it is a little bit fiddly, that one. It's just got some things that are very different from the rest of the game, and it really just takes a little bit of figuring out what you're doing. How do you do it? And then the next step of figuring out how do you do it effectively is, as I said, another step that you're going on. And then the other quibble that I have is this is not an expansion that's going to make you like the game if you didn't like it before. It just isn't. It's not doing enough to completely change the gameplay. But really, that's it. I think this is a game that if you liked Hidden Leaders before, you're going to like this expansion. Period. I think the Guardians expansion is the best of the bunch, followed by the Artifacts, which is kind of a use it or don't use it, and then the Corruption one seems to be one that is kind of a mastery module. Once you've really mastered everything else, then you want to add that one in to kind of just mix up the gameplay. But there you have it, folks. That is the Hidden Leaders expansion. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.